So we're going to start this evening's class on the floor, seated. You can use a block. You could use higher. Don't need to use a block. You could sit on the floor without, if you were happy to do that. It's going to sit up nice and tall. Roll the shoulders around a little bit. Loosen off the back of the neck, especially if you've been sort of stuck in a one position for a few hours today. You've got a little bit stiff, or you haven't had the opportunity to have a nice stretch. Just letting the hips sink down a little bit, getting that pelvis into a nice neutral position. I'm going to work with the wrists to start with, so we'll interlace the hands, just bring the forearms together so it can roll the forearms against each other, rolling the wrists around gently. So just by manipulating how high you move the forearms against each other, you'll deepen the movement in your wrists. And we'll see if we can go the opposite way. And then we're going to work a little more into the wrists, but start to involve the shoulders a little bit as well at the same time. So I'm going to release the fingers, give them a little shake out, and then bring your hands together so the palms facing towards you, little fingers are touching. Now take a breath and see if you can roll the backs of your hands towards each other so thumbs are pointing out. Then we'll turn the hands down towards the floor and squeeze the back of the wrists together. And then see if we can roll the hands forwards, bring the palms together, little fingers come back. So we're just literally going to roll that through. You can see that the shoulders get a little bit of movement, a little bit of lift as the elbows move around. And then we'll see if we can go the opposite way. Which sometimes takes a little bit of thinking about. And we'll just let the arms swoop out to the side and up to the sky. We'll bring the palms together above the head if you can, exhaling down. So although this is working into the shoulders, we're trying to get those hips to relax as the shoulders come up. They are very much linked together. So if you take your hands high, your shoulders squeeze up, your hips seem to join in. I think positive sort of affirmation in your head and letting the hips drop down. I'll also take those into a little bit of a twist. So bring the hands above the shoulders, we'll twist towards the left, bring the hands down on the exhale, inhale them back up. Then rotate the body all the way around to the opposite side and let the hands come down. So the trunk is doing the rotation. We're spinning around on that axis point, lifting the hands up, rotating around, easing back down. And again, just trying to keep the legs nice and loose and soft. Come again, round again. One more time. To the center, let the hands come down. We're going to place the hands deliberately on those knees out in front. Going to tilt the pelvis forwards, roll the chest up towards the sky and shoulders back. So we're doing cat-cow seated version. We'll tilt the pelvis back on the exhale, press the ribs gently towards the back of the mat. Just let the head drop naturally. Inhale, coming forwards when you're ready. Take it back for the last time. Breathing gently up. We're going to untangle the leg. give those ankles a little bit of a shake out, say hello to the knees, and then we're going to swing the feet out to the side. We come up onto our knees, we'll move the block out towards the front side edge of the mat. And then from all fours, we're going to take a little breath. Let's take the knees wide, we'll sink into child's pose, so heels and buttocks meet, and then we'll walk the fingers forwards, keeping the belly drawn in. We're trying to get the body to sink through the thighs, let the head come all the way to the ground if you can. And we'll lift the head looking towards the hands. We'll come up onto all fours, bring the knees underneath the hips and the hands underneath the shoulders. We're tucking the toes of the left foot underneath and lengthening out. We're going to take the right hand forwards out and then lift the left leg away from the ground. And then hold that for a while. Try not to let yourself sink into the floor. You want to push away, keep yourself nice and stable. Think about your belly button, pubic bone, and your heart staying over the center line rather than swaying out to the sides. Got a couple more breaths there. Just pressing out through the heel, keeping the leg nice and long. And then we'll bend the knee, swoop that right arm around. We'll find a foot out there somewhere at the back. Open the chest, press your shin away. And we'll release. Everything comes back down. We'll shoot the right leg back. The left hand comes out towards the front of the mat. Press into the shin to lift that rear leg. Again, we'll bend the rear knee, swoop the hand round, find some toes, open the chest up. Last breath, release that out. Everything comes back down. We take a little breath. We'll sit back into child's pose again. We'll take the knees wide, sit onto the heels, just walk the fingers out. As soon as we arrive, nice and low, we'll take a breath in and ease into a side bend over towards the right side. Try and take a deep breath into the ribs, a little bit more than the belly. So you get that nice deep stretch through the rib cage, down the side of your arm, into your lower back. Last big breath in. Exhale, lift the head on the inhale, walk it across to the other side as you exhale. We'll take 5 long breaths here again. Big breath. And lift the head looking towards the front of the mat again. We'll come up onto all fours. And we'll just move the feet just enough, legs back enough to come into a plank. Now we're going to take the feet over towards the left. Make sure your left hand is underneath your shoulder, right hand is lifted. We're going to take a few breaths there, just lifting the hips as high as we can. And then we'll bring the hand back down, back into the plank. We'll take the feet over to the opposite side. Strong legs. You're engaged. One foot flat to the floor, one on side edge. I'm going to bring the hands back down into the plank. But this time we're going to take the right foot about halfway up to the outside edge of the mat. And then we'll come onto the side edge of the left foot, taking the hand to the sky on the right side and lifting the hips as high as you can. So you want to press into the front foot and lift the hips as high as you can, possibly higher than your head. I'll bring the hands back down, step it back into the plank, take the other foot halfway up the mat, drop into the right edge foot, lift the hips high. There's quite a squeeze through the thighs when you do that. And then bring the hands back down, back into the plank. We'll go straight into down dog. So lifting the hips high, your feet are nice hip distance apart. Have the fingers turning out very slightly so the armpits roll in a little more. And then we're going to sit with the right leg high. We're going to bend the knee and bring the heel in towards your button flexor first. Imagine you've got a tennis ball trapped behind the back of your knee. You're going to try and keep that there the whole time. And we're going to take hip rotations. We'll draw the right knee in towards the chest. Swoop it out to the side. Take it as high as you can. Try not to travel forwards in that down dog position. And then bring the knee back in again. You're going to feel that a lot in the standing leg. You do really have to work through the arms and the shoulders to press back. It's not just the hips floating around. That would be nice if that's the case. Draw that into one last round. As the knee goes high, we'll extend the toes out towards the sky, letting the tennis ball drop. So imaginary anyway. We'll let the hip hinge back down to the floor, scissor in the leg, and we'll take straight into the second side. The leg lifts up, then the knee, hook the foot, draw it into your chest. Start to float it out to the side, get a little bit of rotation in the hips sideways. One last time. As the knee goes high, extend the toes up to the sky as high as you can. And then scissor the foot back to the floor. Walk the hands to the toes, coming into a forward bend at the back of the mat. Just hanging over the hips. Taking a couple of breaths here, just loosening the shoulders and the spine. Last nice breath in. I'll bring the hands onto the hips, shoulders and elbows back, and lift on the exhale. Whew. And time to walk into the front of the mat, just shaking it a little bit. So obviously in these classes, you want to make sure you take it at your own pace. If there's any sharp pains, you lift out. Add any adaptations in you need or variations. So if I'm doing down dog and you want to take child's pose, that's perfectly okay. Now, we're ready again at the front of the mat. We'll take the arms wide on the inhale up. Bring the hands through the heart, hinge at the hips. We're going to come down to the floor with the fingertips. Just drawing the spine in a little bit. And then sending the left foot back and dropping the heel in. We'll open into warrior two, so cartwheeling up, keeping the front knee over the ankle. We're not going to stay there too long. Inhale the hands all the way up to the sky, rotate out slowly to the front of the mat, control the descent to the floor on your exhale, step it back into your down dog. Then we're not going to stay there very long, we'll come into a plank. And then we'll let the knees come down to the floor and on top of toes. Press the shins into the ground a little bit, lift your chest, shoulders roll back, bend at the elbows, and let ourselves come down, ribs to the floor, chin to the floor. We bring the hands down to the bottom of the ribs. We're going to take low cobra, 5 breaths in, lifting on each one. So we're just trying to get to that point where the bottom rib is just about to lift from the floor. Remember not to press into the hands. They're really just for a little bit of balance if you roll out to the sides on the lift. We're coming up for number 4. Number 5. And I'll take the toes underneath. Press into the floor with the hands to lift. Back up onto all fours, not quite into child's pose. Then up onto all fours, shoulders over the wrists. Lift the knees from the ground into down dog, pressing back. 1 breath in, 1 breath out. Inhale your left knee in towards your chest. Bring the foot through into lunge on the exhale. Take a breath and we'll step forwards into the folded forward bend. Hands onto the hips and we lift up. We'll swoop the arms out wide again. We'll do the same second side. Exhaling down. We're sending the right leg back. Dropping the heel in. Lifting into our warrior twos. Get the hands high on the breath in. Rotate and lengthen out with control. Stepping back into our down dog. 1 breath in. 1 breath out. Float into plank. Lower the knees. Untuck the toes. Shoulders and chest lift the back a little bit. And then start to bend the elbows. Come down onto your belly button, to your ribs, chin to the floor. Hands just drop down to the bottom of those ribs again before we start, so we can squeeze the elbows together. Inhale it up. Coming into number 2. Try not to pull with the back of your neck or your head. It's led from your lower back and your buttocks, really. Number 4. Number 5. Tucking the toes under, push into the ground with those hands to lift up. Not quite back into child's pose, but a little. Then shoulders over the wrists. We'll lift the knees into our down dog. We'll draw the right knee in towards the chest on the breath in. Use the exhale to come into the lunge. Take a breath, push off the back toes into the forward bends. Hands to the hips. And we lift up. We'll step into the front of the mat because we travel a little bit on that variation. We'll take hands high, hands into the heart. Soften the knees and exhale down. Take a breath. Send the left leg back, drop the heel in. We'll cartwheel up. Warrior 2. Hands come high, we'll lengthen out. Now this time we're going to spin the back heel to the sky in the lunge. We're going to move the left foot halfway back in. And then roll into the heels, straighten into legs, and bringing the hands away from the floor gently to let them rest against the shin on that front leg. Pyramid pose, not quite folded down all the way. Going to try and get the spine nice and long. Press the big toes into the floor. Open the front knee to come back down with the hands. We'll step back into our down dog, so just in both feet. We'll come into a plank. We're going to take half plank and up dog to down dog. Add your variations as you need. Roll the hips up and back. And we'll scissor the left leg high whilst we're here. Draw the knee in towards the chest and the foot through. Take a breath and step it into the fold. Hands to the hips. Inhale up. And exhale down to do the same to the second side. The right leg back. Heel drops in. Hands alongside the body. Cartwheel up. Inhale the hands high. Out towards the front of the mat and down. Spin the back heel. Step the foot in halfway-ish. Roll the heel back. Straighten the legs. Let the body lift just that little bit. Hands onto the front shin. Great for hip stabilization. Pressing down through the feet. Great for stretching out and opening those hamstrings. Get our feet to do a lot of work here. Now open the front knee. Step the foot back. Step it back into our down dog. Travel forwards into our plank, half plank and up dog. And from down dog, we'll scissor the right leg high. Knee into chest and through. Take a breath. Push off the toes into the forward bend. Hands to the hips. And we'll lift up on the inhale. Hands through the heart, exhaling down. Left leg back into lunge. Drop the heel in. We'll float to our warrior two. Take the hands high, out towards the front of the mat. Now we'll bring both hands onto the inside of the front leg. We'll just spin that front foot out to the side a little bit so we can rearrange the hands underneath the shoulders. We'll bend the back knee down to the floor and tuck the toes. And we're going to take the right hand forwards into a twist. And we're going to place that hand just onto the base of the spine, palm in. Let the chest lift, let the hips sink, let the front knee hang out to the side a little bit. Slowly take the hand up, and as you do, wiggle your foot back towards the center line so you can bring your hands down either side of the front foot. We'll lift the back knee, get them back into down dog. Take the breath into plank. It's another half plank up dog, down dog. Inhale that left leg high into the scissor. Be careful your arms don't buckle. Knee to chest. Bring it through. Take a breath and stepping into the fold. Hands to the hips. Inhale up to the sky. Hands through the heart, exhaling down. Second side. Right leg goes back. Heel drops in. Cartwheel into warrior two. Inhale the hands high, out towards the front of the mat and down. Bring the hand to the inside, wiggle the front foot out, adjust the hands, drop the back knee and untuck the toes. Left hand comes forwards, we're into the twist. Bring the palm onto the base of the spine, relax the front knee out to the side. And we'll slowly lift that hand up, swing it over, we'll wiggle the front foot in, so hopefully we're back into the right place as the hand arrives. We'll step back to our down dog, and travel forwards into the plank, half plank and up dog. And we'll scissor the right leg high, use the exhale to bring the knee through. Take the breath in, step forwards into the fold, hands at the hips and we'll lift up. Bring the hands up above the shoulders, palms facing in, and we'll sink into chair. Letting the weight into the heels, the toes are light. We're going to swoop the arms out to the side. Bring the arms behind. We're going to take hold of the elbows. And then we'll straighten the front legs, hinging forwards and fold down. Now release the hands gently to the floor. And we'll step the left foot back. Drop the heel in. We're opening into warrior two. Floating the arms high. Out to the front of the mat and down. And down dog. We'll come into the plank, half plank and up dog. And back into down dog. Scissor the left leg. Keep the chest and foot through. Use the exhale to fold. Front of the mat. Hands at the hips, we'll lift up. Take the hands high again, above the shoulders, palms in. Sink into chair again, so knees over toes. Sit back a little deeper. And relax the shoulders. And try and keep a nice line between fingertips, shoulders, and hips. Yeah, we'll sweep the arms around the back, take hold of the elbows, draw the tummy muscles in, let the legs open out, and then fold forwards. And then we'll release the hands to the floor. Step our right foot back. Drop the heel in, stepping back into down dog. Got carried away there. We came into warrior two more times than we needed. And we're forwards into the plank, half plank and up dog. And scissor in the right leg high, knee to chest, and we're bringing the foot through. Take a little breath. Step into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, and we'll let ourselves lift up. We'll take the arms wide on the inhale. Hands together through the heart. Exhaling down to the floor. And send the left foot back, drop the heel in, we'll open into warrior two, taking it into reverse warrior. Coming back. We're going to extend out over the front thigh. Bring the hand down to the floor, just checking that your knee is over your ankle. Take a breath. Bring yourself up halfway to let your forearm rest on that front thigh, hand into the groin. And then we're going to windmill the top arm into some big circles forwards. We're going to take 5 of those. And take number 5, roll it around up towards the sky, down to the floor. And as it goes to the back hip, we lift again into warrior 2. We'll take the hands high to bring them onto the inside of the front leg. We'll swap the fingers around to the long side of the mat. Turning the toes in, we'll take a long breath with a flat back and hinge from the hips. Over we go. It's that wide leg forward then. Lifting up on the inhale, walk the fingers around the front of the mat. We'll step back to down dog. We'll draw the left leg through and bring the hands alongside the body. We'll float the arms forwards and up. Find our balance point. We're going to just drop the back knee down to the floor, letting the hands come down by the side. Just tap the fingers underneath that thigh. Lift back up. So it's a little kiss. Fingertips touch at the top. Little touch at the bottom. So we're trying to get the fingertips to touch at the bottom as the knee touches the ground. All pretty much at the same time. We've got one last dip. Coming back up. Take the hands forwards and down to the floor. Take a breath. Step into that forward bend, folding down. Hands onto the hips, we'll lift up. Arms go high. Into the heart and down to the floor, soften the knees. This time it's the right leg going back. Dropping the heel in, we're opening to warrior 2, followed by reverse warrior. Coming slowly back. Extend out over the front thigh. Hand to the floor. Check your knee position. Lift up half. Forearm onto the thigh. We'll continue to take the windmills with those right arms swinging around. We're trying not to put all of our body weight through that front arm. Really, we're asking the body to hold itself up as much as we can. So this bottom arm is kind of just tucked out of the way. And we come around for that 5th and final time out to the front. And then as it goes towards the back of the mat, you lift up into your warrior 2. We'll take the hands high onto the inside of this front leg. Walking the fingers around, long side. Toes are in, get a nice flat back. Lift the tip of the tailbone up a little bit. And then fold from the hips. So lift up, walking around to the front of the mat, stepping back into down dog. And then we'll draw that right knee in. Make sure the knee is over the ankle. We'll bring the hands alongside the body to lift. Put the arms out. Coming all the way up into that high crescent position slowly. Find our balance point. Kiss the knee to the ground. Little dips. Fingers touch under the thigh. That's one. Coming down for two. Three. 4. 5. Hands reach towards the sky, turn them forward. Down to the floor we go. Step into the forward bend. Hands under the hips. Let ourselves lift up. Shake out the legs a little bit. So this is where the 2 bricks are going to come in. I'm actually going to take my bricks, actually not on the highest level. I'm going to go a little bit lower than that today. You want the bricks to be out. You can imagine the length from your hip bone where you're going to flex and your shoulders a bit far forward so that your hands are on top of the bricks underneath your shoulders. Bring the hands in towards our heart. Just a moment in mountain pose for a couple of breaths. Lengthening the legs out a little bit, pushing them into the floor. And we'll take a deeper breath in. Hinge at the hips, we're coming down. We're going to place the hands onto the bricks. Going to soften the front knee, taking the left foot to the back into a lunge. So again, I want to make sure I start with the knee over the ankle. We should adjust the bricks out shoulder distance apart. We're going to come into warrior 3 and hold. So I'm going to push off the back toes, lean into the front leg. Try not to let the hips hang out. Come up onto the fingertips if you feel able to. Press out nice and strong. Lift the body up and out. Shoulders away from the ears. Head's in line with the rest of the body. Now we'll soften the front knee. Let ourselves come back. Bring the fingertips to the floor. Step into the forward bend again. And then bring the hands under the hips and we'll lift up. We'll sweep the arms wide. Hands through the heart. Hinge at the hips and we're down. Right leg goes back. Hands onto the blocks. Nice up to set up. Take a little breath. Push up the back foot. Up onto the fingertips if it feels available. Working on pressing that leg that you're standing on down into the floor without pressing into the back of the knee, which is more challenging than you might think it's going to be. Most of us hyperextend a little bit in the back of the legs, which we're trying to avoid in this pose. And then we'll soften again into the lunge. Ooh, hands to the floor. We'll step back into down dog this time. And let the knees come down to the ground. We'll sit back onto the heels just for a moment as we take that flat block from the side of the mat behind us. Let ourselves lean forwards. We're going to come into Malasana, so deep squat. Then take the feet as wide as a block. Now, if you don't need the blocks, you've got enough articulation in your ankles to be flat-footed, you can do. And we'll see if we can bring the hands away from the floor. I want this to be sort of as much as it can be a rest. So I'm just going to let the arms sit on top of the knees. Roll the shoulders back a little bit, get a nice long neck, wriggle in and take some nice deep breaths. The first part of that was reasonably pacey. I know I'm talking through it, so it's hard to catch my breath sometimes, but generally, if I'm gasping, that means we're all working hard, or I'm talking too much, one or the other. About giving it a little bit of time so you can feel the backs of your legs and your lower back stretching out. And somehow it feels okay to kind of sit a little bit more upright the more time you spend in it. When you first come in, you kind of feel like, the tip forwards. But gradually you just get this nice place where your balance is. Now we're going to move off of there. We just take the hands behind. Let the thumb come down that last little bit, untangling the legs. We're going to wriggle out through the ankles and the knees a little bit, and then shimmy forwards. I'm going to take the block towards the back of the mat. Knees high to start with. Use the hands behind to roll gently down. Just move my trousers around a little bit. My waistband's not digging into my pelvis. And walk the feet in towards your bottom. We're going to take the arms out nice and wide, crucifix style. Now let the legs roll gently over towards the left side. Shoulders on the ground, nice and flat, and head turning the opposite way. Going to let it relax into that pose. So nice and soft. Lift the knees back up to the center. Set them across to the opposite side. We'll work a little bit more directly into the abs and the hip flexors and the lower back. Bring the knees back up and move the block out from beneath my head so it's still at the back of the mat. And allow myself to bring my hands down by the side. A nice long flat neck, flat spine, wriggle out your bum, and then lift up tiptoes, draw the knees up above your hips, draw your belly down so your lower back gets nice and close to the floor, hopefully touching. We're going to extend the legs up to the sky. We're going to alternate legs and arms, so we'll bring the hands up above the chest, palms facing in, stretching out through the fingers. And on the exhale, we're going to let that right arm and left leg descend, not quite touching the floor. Bring them back up and cross over to the opposite side. Now we are trying to lengthen out through both legs, so we're keeping as straight and pointy toeish as we can. We'll cross over, the legs come back and touch. Now, apart from rhythmically taking one leg and one arm down. We are trying to get the leg and the arm to just reach their sort of final extension, and then coming back up. So they're staying in time with each other. Rather than sort of dropping the leg and just letting the arm float back by itself, you're actually trying to lengthen out through the whole body, through the fingertips and the toes. That midriff is working really hard to keep your lower back into the floor. Your legs start to feel like they're going to collapse away from you. Draw them in towards your body rather than dropping them to the floor. That can be quite painful on your lower back sometimes if you do that. Because if you draw the knees in quickly, you'll catch yourself and avoid pulling the muscles in your lower back. We'll come up for the last side. And then all the way back up to the sky. Going to bend the knees in towards the chest. We're going to wrap the arms around the shins, coming into a nice tight ball. Into the chest. A couple of breaths here. And then I'm going to let the feet come to the ground, close to the bottom again on the center line. And hands down by the side of your body. You want to sort of lift the cheeks a little bit so you can bring your wrists and your hands sort of more under your body, so they're really, really in tight. Elbow joints actually touching your rib cage. We're not actually sitting on the hands, we've got straight arms length in and out. Then draw the lower back into the floor again, walk the toes in, up onto the tiptoes, squeeze the thighs together, extend the legs up towards the sky. This time we're going to take a breath in, and we're simply going to let the right leg sink to the floor, not quite touch, bring it back up. Toe touches toe, so we know we've arrived. We can do it with our eyes closed. Let the opposite leg down. Coming back up. Pressing into the floor with the hands a little bit. Cross over. Back. Crossing over. And over for a final time on this side. Last side, opposite side. And soften the knees in towards the chest. Wrap the arms around the shins again. Use the feet. Going to come into bridge pose. So take the hands down by the side, join the feet out a little wider than the hips, and turn the heels out just a fraction. Trying to get the heels underneath the knees. We'll draw the belly down. Use the exhale and start pressing down into the feet so the hips lift away from the ground. We'll get as high as we can. Trickle the shoulders underneath a little bit, and then we'll sweep the arms up to the sky and let the hands drop to the mat behind us. We'll come up onto the tiptoes. Try to keep the sides parallel to each other and lifting. Begin to press the knees towards the front of the mat in this elevated position. Breath here. And we're going to let the spine roll down to the floor, keeping the heels off the ground and the hands where they were. When your pelvis is back to the floor, you drop the heels in gently and we'll swoop the arms up and back alongside the body. We'll walk the feet in gently towards the center line, nice and close. I'm going to let the left leg come in towards you. We'll take the hands around the back of the thigh, interlacing the fingers. Extend that leg up to the sky, just above the hip, pressing the heel to the sky. Release that foot to the floor. Take it to the second side. Extend it out. Pressing that thigh into the hands. The legs pushing away from us. Bring that leg back down. Take the arms out wide again. Crucifix style. And let the legs roll over to the right this time. Go to the left. Lift the legs back up. Roll that to the opposite side. And bring everything back up. And I'll see if I can bring the knees towards me. Turn the soles of the feet together. Bring the hands onto the shins, ankle bones, and then see if I can turn the soles of the feet together. So a little bit like cobbler's pose, but just happen to be lying on the floor. Release the feet gently. And then we'll use the toes to walk the feet out to the end of the mat. We'll come into Shavasana. Just slide the heels along for the last part of that stretch. Let the hands come out to the side. Eyes closed. Just try and let ourselves sink to the mat. Take a little breath there. With the fingers and toes. Ankles and wrists join in. Get a little bit more aware of our body on the mat. Take that into a longer stretch. Whatever you need. And slide the heels along the mat. One leg at a time. We'll draw the knees in. Taking the hands around the shin lightly. And take a little swing from side to side, and then use an exhale to roll to the right side completely with the legs. And turning the chest in, bring the hands underneath. Rest away smoothly. Back to sitting. Easy sitting posture. Sitting tall. We'll bring the hands to our hearts. Close the eyes and take a breath in. Begin to slowly exhale it in a chin drop. Feeling the belly drawn to the spine, we'll follow the bow to the floor, sealing our practice for the evening. As the breath comes back in, we'll let the spine lift, let the head float, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Hope you enjoyed, and see you on the mat again soon.